Okay, now we're going to work with the layer buttons, and we're going to start by utilizing the layers that are in the actual main control panel. Okay, so first button that you see here is layer, and that'll bring up your layer properties. We're going to get to this in a little bit. First, we're going to see what we can get done without even having to bring up layer properties. Okay, so the first thing you could do is create a layer. When you first open the animator or Panimation, it's going to have one layer in it. And let's just create something on that layer. Just drag this box in here. Um, if you hit create, it'll actually bring another layer in, and you can put other things on that other layer. You can see that currently the only layer that's visible is the active layer, which means the one that I have selected. If you click on active, you can choose all, and now you'll see any layer that's around. And each layer is capable of having lots of stuff on it. So right now the first layer has two things. Let's put three things on there, and you can see that has three things. And the second layer only has one thing. Okay. If something is selected that you want to bring to a new layer, or you want to bring this to a third layer, let's say, or better yet, let's go back to layer 1 and say I want to bring this moon to its own layer. Thing is to select it. So usually I use my right mouse button to move it around a little bit, and then it'll be selected. And then you hit create, and it'll actually take that moon and put it on its own layer. So it's no longer on that first layer, it's on its own third layer. Okay. So what if I wanted to move things? So if I choose the first layer, I can click on move. And now when I click in the workspace, it's actually moving the whole layer. If I wanted to rotate something, like let's say I choose this layer and I have rotate selected, and I can adjust the rotation. I can go really wild here. And let's say I want to size, so I click on this layer and just size it up. Now you can see it's kind of freehand right now. If I hold down on the shift key, it'll lock the X and Y, so it won't get out distorted. And then finally you've got the reset button. So I hit reset, puts that back to the way it was. Hit reset, puts that back to the way it was. Reset, puts it back. And then you've got your delete, which we talked about earlier. You can't delete the first layer. There's always got to be a first layer. So let's say I wanted to delete this particular layer. What I would do is I would actually click on the little down arrow here, which would take it to the next layer, and then I could delete it. That's a little inside tip there. And then finally you've got a stencil button here for your layer, and we'll go into that more when I know a little bit better or have a better demo for that. Um, so okay, that is all the buttons. So we use the up and down arrows to move the layer's position. You can actually go and right click on this little menu here and do the same thing, forward and backward. And you can also rename a layer. So let's call this the moon. Okay, and we'll call this dollar. Okay. You can even save these layers out. So if you have multiple things on a layer, let's create this. And you want to save it all together as one piece, you can do that just by dragging and dropping it out, and it will save that layer. It's called $.ppl right here. And what you can do there is you can just double click on it and bring it back in. Now you got two layers that have the same objects on them. They obviously don't appear until the very end there. It must be where I was at. Just trim to start and trim to start. Very helpful little tool there. So anyway, you can save layers with lots of different objects. In the next video, we're going to drill down on the actual layer properties panel itself. Everything is animatable. You've got some really wild new features: the bow, amplitude, frequency, and phase, wireframes. We'll talk about all that in the next video. Okay? All right.